You've been walking through hell so long, you don't even remember what heaven looks like. But that's all right. Heaven's for the soft ones, for the ones still clutching at dreams and hoping the world is kinder than it is. You and me, we live in the real world. The world where wolves wear human skin and kindness is a currency too expensive to afford. I know you. I know the way your heart drags behind you, scraping against the pavement like a chain. I know how you laugh at your own misery, how you make jokes out of your own pain, because it's easier to swallow when it's covered in a punchline. You mastered the art of pretending. You became an actor in your own tragedy, putting on a show so they wouldn't see the emptiness eating you alive. But when the lights go out, when the curtain drops, you're left with the truth. You're alone. You were always alone. And it hurts, doesn't it? It cuts you in places no one can see. But here's the thing, pain is real. Pain is honest. People lie, smiles lie, but pain is your only real friend. It'll never leave you. It'll never betray you. So use it, feed on it. Let it fuel you. You think the world owes you something? It doesn't. You think they're gonna save you? They won't. You either save yourself or you rot. Simple as that. You gotta move alone. You gotta be your own army, because out there it's war. And the first rule of war, trust no one. You already learned that, didn't you? When you needed them the most, they turned their backs. When you were drowning, they watched. Some of them even enjoyed it. They wanted to see you fail, see you break. They wanted to see if you could crawl out of the pit they dug for you. But here you are, scarred, bruised, but breathing. And as long as you breathe, you fight. You move alone because the road to strength is a lonely path. It's paved with betrayal, with lost love, with shattered dreams. You walk it alone because that's the only way to find out what you're really made of. You wanted love. You wanted friendship. You wanted someone to understand the chaos in your head. But you got none of that. So now you become the love you needed. You become your own friend. You become the storm that wipes out everything that stands in your way. They say it's a cold world. Fine, be colder. Be the frost that burns. Be the winter that kills. You got a heart full of ashes and veins pumping venom. Use it. They turned you into this. They created their own monster, and now they gotta live with it. You move alone, not because you don't want them, but because you don't need them. You've been through hell, and you came back holding the devil's leash. You've seen the darkness, you've been the darkness, and now the darkness moves with you. It follows you. It bends to your will. Every step you take it with purpose. Every breath you draw, make it count. They'll try to bring you down. They'll try to drag you back into the pit. But they don't know who they're dealing with. They don't know that you built a throne from the bones of your failures. They don't know that the fire they lit to burn you only made you steel. The world is a battlefield, and every day is a war. You walk alone because soldiers walk alone, because warriors die alone. But before they die, they make damn sure the world remembers them. They carve their names into history with blood and grit. So go on, move alone, move with the ghosts of who you used to be, move with the weight of everything you lost. But move, because if you stop, they win. And you were never built to lose. You are a storm in human skin. You are the answer to every doubt, every whisper, every sneer they threw at you. And when it's all said and done, when they look back, they'll see nothing but your shadow. Because by then, you'll be long gone, alone, but never broken. Move alone, dark man, move alone. And let the world shiver when you pass by. They think you're cold because you stopped reaching out, because you stopped explaining yourself, stopped trying to be understood by people who were deaf to your screams all along. But the truth is, you're not cold. You're tired. Tired of bending yourself into shapes that fit their comfort. Tired of swallowing your rage, your pain, just to keep the peace in a war you never asked to fight. So you moved alone, not out of choice, but because it was the only way to keep the pieces of you from scattering to the wind. You don't talk about the nights you spent staring at the ceiling, every betrayal playing on repeat in your head like a broken record. You don't talk about the emptiness that crept into your chest and made a home there, or how you tried to fill it with everything: drinks, fights, strangers who tasted like lies. You don't talk about it because no one wants to hear it. They want the strong version of you, the unbreakable one, the one who keeps getting back up no matter how many times he's knocked down. They want the armor, not the man bleeding underneath it. But you know the truth, don't you? The armor's cracking. Every time you look in the mirror, you see it. Those eyes that used to burn bright now dull. The weight of all the ghosts you carry pulling at the corners of your mouth. You're tired of the fight, but even more tired of losing. So you tell yourself to keep moving. One step, then another, even if it feels like you're dragging your own corpse, even if it feels like every breath is a struggle against the darkness clawing at your throat. You learned a long time ago that the only person coming to save you is yourself. No white knights, no guardian angels, just your own two fists, and a rage so deep it feels like a second heartbeat. You've been abandoned by those who promised they'd stay, betrayed by those who swore they'd never hurt you. And each time, a little piece of you died until there was nothing left but the shadow and the anger and the silence. They killed the old you, left him to rot in a grave marked with broken promises and blood-stained memories. But from that grave, something else crawled out, something ruthless, something unafraid to burn every bridge and salt the earth behind him. They say you changed, like that's supposed to make you feel guilty, like you owe them the version of you they could control, the one who bit his tongue and bowed his head and pretended the knife in his back didn't hurt. They don't understand that you didn't change. You evolved. Pain did that. Betrayal did that. Being used and discarded and lied to did that. They threw you to the wolves, and you came back leading the pack, eyes cold and sharp with the kind of knowledge only suffering can teach. You stopped explaining yourself because explanations don't matter to people committed to misunderstanding you. They'll twist your words, turn your truth into weapons, make you doubt your own mind. So you move in silence now. You cut them off without warning, burn their names out of your life with a ruthlessness that even scares you sometimes. Because you've seen what happens when you let them stay. How they worm their way back in with apologies soaked in poison. How they convince you to lower your guard just enough for them to slip the blade between your ribs again. Never again. You made a promise to yourself, standing alone in the dark with your hands shaking and your jaw clenched so tight it ached. Never again. The world doesn't care if you're tired. It doesn't care if you're broken or bleeding or so numb that even the pain feels like a distant memory. It'll keep coming at you, throwing storms and knives and nightmares until you're nothing but bones. So you can either lie down and let it bury you, or you can get up, spit blood in its face, and keep moving. Alone, if that's what it takes. With your fists clenched and your teeth bared and your eyes fixed on the horizon, no matter how dark it gets. They look at you and see the scars, the anger, the silence, and they don't understand. They don't see the nights you spent fighting your own mind, the mornings you dragged yourself out of bed, with every muscle screaming to just give up. They don't see the times you put on that mask, forced a smile, and pretended everything was fine because you couldn't bear the pity in their eyes. They don't see the rage you swallow every day just to keep from tearing the world apart. And they never will. Let them think you're heartless. Let them think you don't care. Better that than letting them see how deep the wounds really go. You don't want revenge, not really. Revenge is for people who still have hope, who still believe that making them suffer will somehow make the pain less. You know better. Pain doesn't go away. It just changes shape, changes owners. So you let it go, not for them, but for you. Because carrying all that hatred was dragging you down faster than any betrayal ever could. You let it go because you're tired of looking back, tired of carrying corpses on your shoulders, tired of living in a graveyard of memories. You let it go because you finally realized that you don't need closure from people who never gave a damn in the first place. So move alone, move with fire in your eyes and ice in your veins. Move with the rage of 1,000 betrayals and the calm of a man who's been to hell and made it his home. Move like the world owes you everything it took, and you've come to collect with interest. Move, even when your legs feel like lead and your chest feels hollow. Move, because if you stop, they win, and you weren't built to lose. They'll call you cold, heartless, ruthless. Let them. Better they fear you than think they can use you. Better they hate you than think they can save you. You stopped needing their approval the day you realized that the only one who's gonna dig you out of this grave is you. So keep your head down, keep your guard up, and keep moving, alone, if that's what it takes, until the darkness fades or swallows you whole. Move alone, dark man, move alone, because in the end, that's all you've ever known, and maybe that's enough. You've been breathing smoke so long you've forgotten what clean air feels like. You've been walking this path with shadows at your heels and voices in your head whispering that it's pointless, that you're wasting time fighting a war that was lost long before you even knew it started. But you keep moving, not because you think there's a light at the end, not because you believe in some fairy tale ending where all the pain suddenly makes sense. You keep moving because stopping means surrender, and surrender is just another word for death. You've seen what happens when people stop fighting, how they fade into ghosts with empty eyes and forced smiles, surviving instead of living. And you swore that wouldn't be you. So even when your legs feel like lead, even when every breath is a battle, you put one foot in front of the other and you keep going, because the only way out is through. You used to be soft, didn't you? Used to care too much, love too hard, trust too easily. Used to think that if you gave enough, if you proved yourself enough, they'd finally see your worth. But all it got you was empty hands and a heart full of knives They took everything you gave and asked for more, left you bleeding and called you weak for not being enough. So you learned. You built walls out of every lie they told you, filled the cracks with anger and disappointment until nothing could get in. You stopped offering pieces of yourself to people who only came around to take. Stopped explaining yourself to those who only listened to reply. Stopped expecting honesty from mouths that only spoke in riddles and half-truths. And now, they look at you and wonder why you're cold, why you don't flinch at their words, why you don't bend when they push. But they don't see the price you paid for that indifference. They don't see the battles you fought alone, the nights you spent staring into the dark with your hands shaking and your mind clawing at the walls of your skull. They don't see the pieces of you that died every time you let someone in, only to watch them walk away when the storms came. So you keep it to yourself. You let them talk. Let them call you heartless and ruthless and unfeeling. Better that than letting them see how deep the wounds really go. You stopped praying a long time ago, didn't you? Stopped looking for answers in the sky because all you got was silence. Stopped asking for mercy because the only thing that ever answered was the dark. You figured if God was listening, he had better things to do than save you. Maybe he wanted you to break. Maybe he knew that pain was the only thing that would burn the weakness out of you. That suffering was the fire that would harden you into something unbreakable. Or maybe he just stopped caring. Either way, you learned to save yourself. Learned to bite back the screams, to sew up your own wounds with trembling hands and a knife between your teeth. Learn to take every hit and turn it into fuel, to swallow every betrayal and use it to sharpen the edges of your soul. You walk alone, not because you want to, but because trusting people is like handing them a loaded gun and hoping they don't pull the trigger. You got tired of handing out bullets. Got tired of being shot down by the very people you would have taken a bullet for. So now, you keep your circles small and your walls high. You don't answer calls, don't return texts, don't give them a chance to sink their hooks into you again. They think you're lonely, think the silence is breaking you. But they don't understand that solitude isn't the same as loneliness, that the quiet is a sanctuary after all the noise, that you'd rather walk alone in the dark than follow the herd into the light. You don't want their love. Love is for the soft, for the hopeful, for the ones who still believe in happy endings. You want loyalty. Want someone who's seen your worst and stayed anyway. Want someone who doesn't flinch at your darkness, who doesn't leave when the storms come. But you stopped looking for that a long time ago. Stopped hoping for anything more than silence and survival. because love is a weakness they use against you. A noose they tie around your neck with pretty words and empty promises. So you learn to choke down the loneliness, to find comfort in the cold, to make friends with the shadows. They'll say you're bitter, that the hate is eating you alive, that the rage is gonna burn you out. Let them talk while you move in silence, while you build alone, while you claw your way up from the pit they left you in. They don't understand that rage is the only thing keeping you warm, that hate is the fire that keeps your heart beating when everything else feels dead. They don't understand that the darkness isn't something you're running from. It's something you became. You embraced it, made it yours. Because light may guide you, but darkness teaches you to survive. They want the old you back, the soft one, the forgiving one, the one who'd take them back with open arms and bleeding wrists. They want the version of you they could control, the one who'd say sorry for things that weren't his fault, who'd swallow his pride and his pain just to keep the peace. But that version of you is dead, buried 6 feet under with the rest of your mistakes. This you, the cold one, the ruthless one, the one who cuts off anyone who even smells like betrayal, is here to stay. This you doesn't beg for respect, doesn't ask for loyalty, takes what he's owed and burns anything that gets in the way. So move alone, with fire in your eyes and ice in your chest. Move like you've already died, and come back hungry for vengeance. Move like a storm, with nowhere left to go but forward, tearing through everything in your path, until there's nothing left but ashes and echoes. Move alone, because in the end, that's all there ever was. No saviors, no saints, no one to pick you up when you fell. Just you, bleeding and breathing and refusing to die. They think they've won. They think the silence means you're broken, that the cold means you've given up. But they don't understand that the silence is just the calm before the storm, that the cold is just the armor you wear while you sharpen your blades and count your scars. They don't understand that every step you take alone is one step closer to proving them wrong, to showing them that the monster they made isn't just surviving, he's coming back to collect. Move alone, move alone. Because the world doesn't give a damn about the ones who fall behind. It remembers the ones who crawl out of their graves with fire in their eyes and blood on their hands. It remembers the ones who move alone.